Hi guys, and welcome to this very special edition of the Deep Dive. So tonight we are speaking about a product that has literally just been launched, and if you haven't heard about it, where have you been? This thing has been setting the magic community alight. There's been so much buzz about it. Now, before we get into the deep dive, if you haven't done so already, please, I will press this button. It's not going to, there it is. Please subscribe and like our video, or do whatever it is you have to do. So we haven't got a lot of time, so we want to cram a lot into this interview. And I'll tell you what, stick around because there is going to be a live performance as well at some point. But we have got two very special friends here, Mr. Craig Petty and Mr. Lloyd Barnes. Hello, guys.
Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm excited. I think this is probably my third deep dive now.
Yeah, what, third or fourth?
Third or fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. And
This is my first time.
It is your first time. And I don't know how, because you all, well, saying that, you don't release that many tricks, but whenever you do, there's a lot of buzz around them. I know you're not as, you know...
For better or worse.
So for Craig, I mean, we sort of get that feeling that we're missing out if we don't see Craig's face for every hour of the day. If Craig doesn't pop up somewhere, then we all feel that, hang on a minute, what's going on?
Yeah, missing person report out for him.
Yeah.
But guys, this thing, I've got one here. This is phenomenal. I mean, for one, the premise of it, the photo deck, I mean, obviously we've had one out with Spellman years ago, and I've always preferred, and I've always preferred this sort of thing when you're doing mentalism instead of a deck of cards. It separates it. Even though it is a deck, it does separate it. But what you two have built into this is brilliant. I mean, you've got my very, very, very favourite false method built into this. One of the most, if not the most deceptive falses ever created, that gives them a totally free choice. So it's a false with a totally free choice. How does that make sense? But
and
honestly,
I think, with your permission, I think we'd like to be very open about that, rather than just kind of going, oh, it's a forcing system. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. We've taken the Quran deck and built it into the Infinity deck. But what we tried to do is take the one kind of issue or the one problem that the Quran deck has and fix it, which is, the Quran deck is amazing, but let's be honest, if you spread that deck face up on the table, people would understand after a few seconds of looking at it what's happening. If you look through the deck, you would have that same thing. By using images instead of using a pack of cards, it means the entire deck is examinable. Isn't that right, Lloyd?
Yeah, so to briefly, like, if anyone is not fully aware, because we are magicians here, we know what the Quran deck is, but it's not like it's a Bengali deck or a stripper deck or an invisible deck, which is sort of like everybody knows what they are. The Quran deck is one of those things which is, if you haven't heard of it, you don't know about it. And so to briefly explain what the Quran deck is, it's a forcing deck that uses 4 of the same cards repeating with a random card between each time. Let me run it down. So imagine the deck's like this. The forcing cards are going to be the ace, 2, 3, and 4 of spades. And those repeat throughout the deck. So it goes ace, 2, 3, 4, ace, 2, 3, 4, ace, 2, 3, 4, ace, 2, 3, 4, all of spades. And between each card is a random card. So ace, random card, 2, random card, 3, random card, 4, random card, ace, random card, and that repeats all the way through. So it allows you to take a deck and to deal through. And because of the way it's built, you're not seeing the same card until 8 cards go by. The human brain can only memorize, on average, 6 pieces of information at once. That's why when you get security codes, they tend to be longer than 6 numbers. The brain can't quickly capture them as fast. So that's why they're security codes. So On the Quran deck, you'd be able to deal through face up. Have somebody say stop at any point, and they really don't think they've seen the same card more than once. And in that way, then you can say, okay, you stopped me on the ace of spades or the two of spades, whatever it's going to be. You could have stopped me here or here or here. You could show all around that force card. And of course, you wouldn't use ace, two, three, four spades. You'd use more random looking cards. But it means then you get this incredibly fair looking force of one of four cards. And then you can reveal them in one of four ways. Incredible principle, stands the test of time. One of the best sort of hidden secrets in open magic that has ever existed. Problem in that there are some issues, there's some things you can't do. For example, you can't spread a Quran deck like this, because after a couple of seconds you go, hang on, there's 7 ace of spades. There's, and so forth. The other thing is that if you were to take only the Quran card, so imagine you just only these cards were the force cards, so it's just ace, 2, 3, 4, ace, 2, 3, 4, ace, 2, 3, 4. If you were to deal those cards into 4 piles, and I'm just going to run through because these are not actually force cards, but if you were to deal those cards into 4 piles, so all the aces would be there, all the 2s would be there, 3s and 4s, for example, somebody couldn't then look at that pile because you would just see 7 ace of spades, or 7 2 of spades, whatever your force cards are. So when Craig called me up and he said, I've got this, he said, admittedly, it's a brilliant idea, and it is, to take the Quran deck and make it so fair that they can look at the cards at the same time, and then explain to me, this is how brilliant it is. In this deck, the force cards, or the subject of the force cards, are a dog, a flower, a house, and a person. But the brilliant thing which Craig has done is that each of those images, although the subject matter is the same, the images are completely different. So, for example, one of the dogs is a Monopoly dog made of metal with a white background. Another one is a stuffed teddy bear dog. And next one's a photo of a dog jumping over a fence. So the cool thing is with that is if you deal all the dog cards into a pile, and especially because you don't tell the participant what they're going to do, you don't say to them, look at the subject matter, you can actually tell them the truth. You can say, pick up any one of those 4 piles, so say all the dog cards are here, flowers there, houses and people, you say, have a quick look and make sure all the cards are different. And they absolutely, realistically, are all different cards. In fact, I can sort of show you what it would kind of look like. These are not all the dog cards, but this is what essentially they see. They spread through and see all the cards are different. And it's not until they put the cards back down that you say, pick them up, shuffle them, and then cut to one in the middle and think of what the main image is on that card, and they'll see a dog. So now you can take the deck, you can spread it face up, you can leave it face up, you can tell them to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Because they don't know they're going to be looking for different subject matter, or they're looking to catch you out, they'd be looking for identical subject matter. Every image is very, 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 very different to itself. So if I let me get 2 dog cards, for example, I go through them. So there's the Monopoly dog, and where's the next one? The stuffed teddy dog. Even looking at them now, you would never do something as open as that. But if you say, look, choose one of these images, okay, or you want to go for the teddy bear, not the metal toy. Even that is abundantly different. You never do something as open as that. But the fact then that you can just be, so open with it and have the cards face up and separate into piles face up. And that was the core principle of what Craig brought to this project, which sort of started the gears turning to go, oh, okay, well, what else can we do? So that was the start.
And I think we need to give a shout out as well to Phil Smith at this point, because I think we need to give a shout out to Phil, because Phil spent so long designing the images on these cards, and we went back and forth over and over again. Every single image on every single card has been picked for a very specific reason. The images of all the dogs, for example, all of the houses, there's other things going on there. There's no way that you would look through the deck and think, oh, there's duplicates in there, which is a game changer. If that was just the only thing that was built into it, it's a game changer. I mean, one thing I do is I do what Lloyd has said there. I have them in 4 piles. I get 4 people to shuffle the 4 piles, look through them, pick one, look at it, remember it, shuffle the cards together, put them away in the box, and I just look at the 4 people with no memorization, because, by the way, in case you forget, the crib's on the box, with no memorization, with no fishing, with nothing, I can immediately tell each person exactly what image they've thought of from a deck of 56 cards with different images on.
It's so good. It honestly, the idea of having the same item but different images is so great with a Quran deck. Quran deck is a really fooling force anyway, but it does rely on the fact that people have got a short memory and they're not taking in that much information. But with this, it really doesn't matter because everything is different. There are no dupes. There are no dupes. The images you are getting 52 or whatever it is, completely different images. But there is more built in to this deck as well. That is only one part of it, which I presume you don't even use for every routine. It's just beautifully built in. So I tell you what, shall we play the trailer and then we'll come back?
Well, actually, before we play the trailer, have you actually watched the trailer yet?
I have not.
Right, okay. Perfect. Because I know that you haven't watched all of the tutorial either.
No.
So I know that there's an element of this, which is my favourite element. And I've been working with this deck for 2 years. When you see the trailer and you see the live performances, you'll realise the reactions this gets in the real world. I've been working with it for 2 years. And I'm telling you right now, I said this to Lloyd a little while ago, there's one particular routine, and it's all Lloyd. It was Lloyd's addition to the project. It's freaking genius. In my 30 years of Magic, I think I can count on one hand things that I do that are as strong as this particular routine. Like, genuinely. And when I work with the Infinity deck, which I do all the time, I always close on this routine. And I don't think you've seen it. And if you see the trailer, it won't be a surprise to you. So before you watch the trailer, can you just bring you and Lloyd up on screen? I'd like Lloyd to perform just this thing for you right now. Okay. Is that all right, Lloyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, completely fine.
Right, I will say, for some reason, there seems to be a little bit of a delay in Lloyd's voice, so I hope that's not putting everyone off, but let me just bring
I'll speak at a
Lloyd in.
Slower pace? Okay, bear with me 1 second, Lloyd. I'm very
excited because I know Pete's not seen this before. This is gonna blow you away, Pete.
Cool. Right, I'm gonna bring myself in as a little split screen thing, so because I know we need the table and stuff like that, or I presume we do. So
yeah, we do. Yeah,
I'm gonna bring us up like this. We'll see you in a minute, Craig.
Bye.
Okie dokes. Here we go.
Good, all good?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to show you is a super, a little thumbs up, a super streamlined version of one of our favorite tricks from the deck. Now, the way I start this when I'm performing, I tell people, you go to those trinket shops, Pete. Mainly my wife goes there and she buys notebooks, and she's got like 30 notebooks, but they all have like a cute different front cover, and you get like funny mugs, and she picks up these like motivational cards, and there's these astrology cards and certain things. One of the decks you can buy, and this is actually real, this is for genuine, you can get these, and they're creative decks, so they're like improv decks. For example, people that are aspiring writers or musicians or people that do comedy, sometimes they get writer's block in some way, shape or form, and they struggle to think about what to talk about, what to sing about, what to make jokes about. And these decks exist. This is why I love the project so much, is because it's based off something genuine. And what they are decks of cards that just have random images all throughout them. I'm trying to show you. There's a picture of the queen there, footballer. So say you were struggling to write a joke. You'd go through a deck of cards like this, and you take out a picture of a lucky clover. So you could talk about maybe an Irishman or something to do with luck, and the joke would have to then be about a king, and just go from there. So it's a really good way of just getting yourself out of a rut and being stuck creatively. But as a magician, I found that these can be really fun to play with in other ways too. So before we begin, I'm going to tell you, Pete, quite categorically, I'm confident that I believe I can influence what you choose.
Right, okay.
So much so I've written that down to set it in stone. I believe I can influence what you choose. What do you think, Pete? Would you agree with that?
Not really. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, well, let's see how that plans out. So I'm going to just alter my camera just a little bit. But you're not here right now, Pete, so I'm going to have to do the work for you. But this would all be done in your hands. Yeah. So I'm going to cut the deck, but instead of cutting, maybe I'll just dribble and you tell me where to stop, okay? So I'll do it, so I know there's a delay, so I'll go slow.
Stop.
Here?
Yep.
Any more, any less?
No, that's perfect.
So I'm going to mark the cut of where we stopped right there. Now, in the real world, you would be doing this quickly, okay? So we're going to use, say, 10 cards for what I'm about to try next. So 10 completely different cards from the deck. And like I said earlier, I believe I can influence what you choose. And what I'd like you to do, if you were there, you'd hold on to the box too. But since you're not, we'll place that just in shuffle. So 10 cards from the deck. We'll take them from where you cut. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The rest go away. So let's see what you've got. Bunch of random cards you got. Let's see, are they upside down, some of them? Got a guy with the, this was me the other day, guy with the flu there. You've got some, what have we got? Some chewy sweets and things.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the idea. They're all different. There are no duplicates in the cards that you've chosen. Fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm going to do next, Pete, is I'm going to go through these cards and you're going to shout either deal or twist. If you say deal, I will just deal the next card on top. If you say twist, we'll shuffle the card with the next card and mix it up. Okay, so I'll say deal, or you'll say deal, or twist, and we'll go through and we'll basically end up with a mixed pile of cards that you've selected from somewhere in the middle of the deck. All right?
Yeah.
So go ahead. Do you want me to deal or twist?
Twist.
Oh, immediately off with a shuffle, trying to catch us out. Let's go again.
Deal. Twist. Twist. Deal. Deal. And deal.
Deal. Perfect. So you cut the deck exactly where you wanted. We took 10 cards out from in the middle. If you cut more or less, we'd have a different set of cards. And then from those cards, you decided to shuffle them up through a completely unique order to you. Yeah. Is there anything you want me to change?
No.
Okay. We're going to lay these cards out. Hopefully you can see them in order as I do this. There's a yew tree. Light bulb. Maybe I'll need to make a bit more space as we go along. Let's see. I'll put all this into view now a little bit better. Here we go. All right. Happy with everything, Pete?
Yeah, that couldn't have been any.
Fair selection of cards. Perfect, and you've shuffled them up. So you remember at the beginning I told you that I believe I can influence what you choose. Do you notice anything about these cards?
No.
On the box, before we began, I placed it off to the side. It says something. I want you to look at the first word of every line on the box. It says, I...
You know what? Oh, yeah, go on.
Believe I can influence what you choose.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, didn't I? I believe I can influence what you choose.
Yeah.
Right? You took these cards randomly, shuffled from a deck. And you're not going to believe this, but the first card is the eye of a needle. I, B, leaf. I can, in, flew, hence, what of electricity, you, tree, choose. I believe I can influence what you choose. Staring you right in the face from the very beginning, the entire time. 10 random cards taken from the deck, and you shuffle them up. And I believe I can influence what you choose, Pete.
That is so good. That is so nice.
I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's great. Really good. Really good.
It's just a really. This is sort of. This comes at the very end of the sort of core routine where there's like 5 or 6 effects that play into each other, and so by that point they're just so down a rabbit hole. This kind of comes out of left field because the other reveals are not like this, and you kind of get those like reverberation moments where people are just kind of taken aback and freaking out.
I will suspect that there are, like, seeing as it's you and Craig, there's hours of tutorial and routines and ideas on there.
Yeah, there's about 6.5 hours of tutorial. 20% of that is taken up by a very special guest. A very, very special guest.
Who's that?
Well, okay. So, you know, like when I brought out Cube 52, I had you involved in it because you know more about mentalism than I ever will. And I got Kev G and Colin Klaus because they're experts at Rubik's Cubes. And when I brought out Evoke, I had Pete Turner and Ian Rowland and yourself on there again. Me and Lloyd, we sat down, and when we had this whole thing ironed out, like 20, 25 routines, we had the whole project sorted. It took us 2 years, but we got there. And we were like, we need somebody on the project. We need somebody. And we said, like, let's think about this. If we were going to have a picture deck, who's considered the GOAT when it comes to picture decks? And we both came up with the same name. David Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, he revolutionized, you know, with the Snaps deck. He's just really, well, it's the most popular picture deck of all time. It's incredible. And we contacted David and we said, look, David, we've got this thing coming out. Can you look at it? We'd love your input on it. And David being David, and then you've worked with him at Alakazam many times. You know what he's like. He's such a giving person. He's such a wonderful human being. And he turned around and he said, yeah, send me one. And what's really annoying from my point of view is I spent 2 years with Lloyd working on routines for this project. And in 1.5 months of having this deck, whilst at the same time putting the Black Mirror project together, I can only imagine how much that took. He was able to put together 1.25 hours worth of material, some of the best routines on the project, including principles that we built into the deck we didn't even know were built into it. He found a marking system. So the backs are marked in about 4 different ways. Yeah, so the backs are marked in 4 different ways. And Phil added an extra marking system and didn't even tell us about it. So we didn't even know that there's this extra marking system in the deck. We did the whole tutorial. We didn't know about it. And I said to David when we were preparing to do his session, hey, David, so have you found all the marking systems? And he's like, yeah, I found this one and this one and this one and this one. Oh, and this one around the outside. I'm like, what one around the outside? And Phil had put in a marking system, never told me, never told Lloyd. David found it and built a bunch of routines around this marking system that we didn't even know existed.
That's genuinely a true story. Yeah, so when someone on the Magic Cafe said, I wonder how David Jonathan feels about this, you know, insinuating that it could be drama, how does he feel? Well, he's part of it.
The thing is, you know, David's such a creative guy. And like you said, with the Snaps deck and everything else, what a perfect choice. But I literally grabbed myself one. These turned up at the shop yesterday, so they're released now. But I grabbed myself the first one that came out the box, and my afternoon, this afternoon, is going through the tutorial because everything about this I absolutely love. I love the Quran principle anyway, but the fact that this can start in Quran and then get shuffled out and you can do other stuff with it is great. I always love decks like that, and I know, Craig, a few of your releases have that in them where you start in a stacked position, but then you shuffle out and you just carry on with the rest of your act. And I think
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing with this deck. We go through multiple ways of using it because different people will use it in different ways, whether depending on whether you want to perform it in a parlor situation, a formal close-up show, a walk-around situation, a table hopping situation, stage. We go through various different ways. Just because it's stacked initially and marked with the stack number, by the way, because it's been stacked initially. That's only, one way of having it. When Lloyd was doing that there, he had it in a slightly different stack. We talk about a different stack for walk-around magicians. We talk about how to use it from a shuffled deck of cards point of view. So you can actually use it from a completely shuffled deck. And you can take routines like Triumph, like Ace Assemblies, like Twisting the Aces, like Oil and Water.
ESP cards.
ESP card. You can do an ESP matchup with images because of the way that Phil has marked the cards. You can do a killer ESP matchup with images. And we talk about how you can use it from a shuffled deck. And because of the marking system that we didn't know about, if you want to do a Quran style routine, if you just spread the cards on the table and run your finger back and forth and just tell them to say stop, boom, you're going to be able to do a Quran style routine from a shuffled deck. And there's so much that you can do with it. So depending on whether you're a walk around performer or a table hopper or whatever, there's a way that this deck will work for you.
Yeah, it's great. And like most of the stuff you put out, I'm trying to think of one that isn't like this, to be fair, but I think most of the stuff you put out, they are full, not only full acts, you could perform a full act with it, but the amount you give, and I know we always joke about, how long's the tutorial on this one, but the reason it is such a long tutorial is this has been 2 years in the making. It's been 2 years of yourself, Lloyd, David Jonathan's got involved, and it's
Phil.
2 years of Phil Smith, 2 years of creating and working. And a lot of people don't realise this. I deal with you a lot because we release a lot of Craig Petty products. But a lot of people don't see what happens. We will have a phone call and you will say, I've got this idea. I'll then produce a sample and send it to you. Now, by the time that's ready to film, that might be a year down the line because you're working it for that year. It's not like I've got an idea, it will be out next week. It doesn't work like that. And that's why you have so many routines, because you've really explored the product and explored the tool to see what you can do with it and what you can squeeze out of it. Most people that create will create one effect to do a particular job. You'll create something and then go, well, what else can this do? What else can this do? And, you know, you do, and I don't think people, because you have so much stuff coming out, I don't think people really appreciate the amount of time that goes into your releases before it hits.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that, you know, you guys, because you're the same as well, Lloyd, because you don't release, you might release what, 2 tricks a year, 1 trick a year, but the amount of thought and effort and work that goes into making sure that what you release is the best it can possibly be with all the tweaks is admirable, really. And this deck, yeah, this is great. So shall we have a quick look at the trailer, then we'll come back and speak a bit more about it?
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the trailer. And I don't know if this is the final trailer, actually. You can tell me after. But this is the trailer for the Infinity deck.
I believe I can influence what you choose. No!
My name's Craig Petty, and one of the questions I get asked the most is, when am I going to release a project with Lloyd Barnes?
Yo, what's going on, man?
I have an idea for the most insane deck of cards you've ever seen.
Whatever it is, I am in.
What kind of evil genius do you have to be to build all of that into one effect?
That's so scary. I couldn't be more excited to share with you the groundbreaking potential that you'll hold in the palm of your hand with the Infinity deck. The amount of magic you could perform with this set of cards is astronomical. In fact, you may even say infinite.
We kind of came up with the King of Diamonds.
I'm not happy about where this is going.
But yeah.
Use the Infinity deck to generate a random card and a random number in one of the most unique approaches to the ACAN plot that you'll have ever seen. The best part is that everything is hands-off.
At the beginning, I gave you a deck of cards. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I don't want to touch them. Can you take them out?
This is not okay. Are you okay?
Deal 25 cards, face up, one at a time.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
That's a Are there any other blue cards in there?
No.
But there's a blue card at the 26.
These routines can be performed on their own or combined into a multi-phase blockbuster effect that will blow your spectators' mind.
You're saying it in your head right now, aren't you? Flower, flower, flower.
It looks like a deck of innocent random images, but underneath the hood is a beast of an engine, maxed out with so many principles, concepts, and ideas that it's going to melt your brain.
Inside this wallet, there is an envelope.
Your participant deals face up, there's no force in, and they can stop anywhere they want.
Stop.
Sure.
Yeah.
The rest, put those down there.
Yet somehow your prediction matches perfectly.
I actually wrote one word, and that's the word dog.
Okay.
That has been there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this is the card that you stopped on. One less, been chicken, one more would have been light bulb. They're all completely different.
Yeah.
You stopped on a dog.
How?
This serious red envelope has been here the whole time. I wrote one thing and one thing only on there. And I wrote
That's very impressive. That's it. I don't know how you did that.
You have a better chance of counting to infinity than you do of running out of ideas with this deck.
I believe I can influence what you choose.
So you can see where you mix the order of those cards up.
Yeah.
It's a unique order that you created yourself. Now think about this. You shuffle, you shuffle, you shuffle. We dealt into piles. We mix, we mix, we mix. I, the eye of a needle. Be and leads. Believe. I can influence. What? A yew tree.
Oh man.
Choose.
That's crazy. How would you know that?
1, 2, 2.
I have no idea how you did that.
I literally don't know where to go from there. That is just unreal.
Can you look up your dates of birth? One before would have been a footballer with a number 7. One after would have been a spade. But you ended up on a lit up dollhouse. How freaky is that?
How?
With the Infinity deck, you can perform over 20 impossible tricks straight out the box.
Come on now.
And on top of that, we specifically created this deck in mind to allow you to create your own unique magic tricks.
Well, I did, because inside there's actually
What the?
I know.
How though? How would you know? I don't get it.
One deck of cards.
Influence.
Infinite mystery.
Can you explain how?
This is the Infinity deck.
I am in.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So good, guys. It is so good. So good. So that is the Infinity deck. That is out now. You can pick it up from Alakazam if we've got any left, because I know these are going to be selling quick. And it's just great to know that you carry that and you've got a whole act with mind reading, predictions. Yeah, so good.
When I started working with the Infinity deck and I started working it in, I forced myself to go to gigs with nothing but the Infinity deck in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was routines from the Infinity deck. And it's that process that made me realize just how much scope there is. And, you know, it was mentioned in the trailer there, but people are going to come up with their own routines for this. Yeah. They really are. The whole thing is designed to inspire creativity, ironically, not just as a pseudo explanation for the tool, but also in reality. You know, me and Lloyd at the end of the project just have a creativity jam where we just riff a load of ideas. Me and David Jonathan spend 10 minutes doing exactly the same thing. Like, it will inspire creativity. I can't wait to see what people are going to do with this.
That's the thing as well. There's certain cards in there that we don't expressly talk about on the project at all, that are in there for certain reasons, and it's because we want people to discover certain, like, it's all well and good us telling you every single trick you can do, but then sometimes it doesn't allow you to fall in love and make something your own. So there are certain cards in there that you're going to see, and you're going to be able to create very easily routines that match your style as a performer or your environment as a performer, using those cards. And we think that that's good in a way, because we all know the tricks that we end up doing the most are the ones that we put our own spin on, our own takes on, the things that even if they're classic tricks, they're the ones that we've found a way to make them unique to us. And we think that's why people are going to love this deck so much, is because we've given you hours of tricks that we've also left scope for you to make certain cards your own without us even touching the surface of them. So they really will be something unique to you and your creativity. And it's not hard to create with these cards, because a lot of the stuff is almost staring you right in the face, but you're just going to add the script or the stuff to it as well. So it's really easy to fall in love with this project. And I think that's why, David Jonathan had these cards for a month. We had them for 2 years, and he came up with a whole masterclass of routines. And I think you're all going to do the same thing too. So it's we're really, really, really passionate about you getting these in your hands.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch the instructions. I'm going to watch that this afternoon. And one of the things that I'm really happy that you said there is that you filmed a jam session, because for me, I get a lot of interest by watching those, because I know whenever me and you are doing it, Craig, or if ever I'm involved, that's where some real gems can come out, and you really get a feel of someone's trailer thought as well, and the avenues they go down. And I love that. I find that really interesting as a creator, watching other people create and the avenues they take when they're creating something. I mean, it's
we jam out we jam out an impromptu Sam the Bellhop, because you can do Sam the Bellhop with this deck really well. But we have to do it. We have to do the take like 3 or 4 or 5 times, because it just after like the 10th card, it just turned to filth. So we had to like really take it. But you can do Sam the Bellhop with this, and you can get impromptu with it. Improv.
Yeah. Why does that not surprise me? Guys, this has been a great deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being so open. And I know both of you are very passionate about being open with the products you release, and I think it's great. People know what they're getting, and they can understand what they're getting, because it's very easy to say, you get a deck and it does lots of things, but you guys tell them exactly what it does. And any one of the features you built into this makes this project worth the money. I think this is under £30.
It is. It's like £27 or something, or 28. Something. It's definitely under £30. Yeah. Yeah,
and I would have paid more than that just for that Quran touch. That to me is a trick that I would do a lot. The Quran one.
Well, I know how much you love the Quran deck, and this is just a way of doing it, and really kind of just making it so unbelievably clean, whilst also at the same time emotionally connecting the audience more than a playing card. You know, if they land on a dog, for example, and you say, right, you know, the image that you look at the image, you know, see if you can take that image and relate it to something that's happened in your life. You know, it just becomes more interesting to them than a 7 of clubs or whatever. So
yeah, 100%.
And they can't forget that either. They can forget a 7 of clubs when it comes to the reveal, but they can't forget that they're thinking of their dog.
Yeah.
You know, they've connected that. So it's more impactful and easier to sort of memorize.
Yeah. I'm trying, not for any reason, but I'm trying to think of a negative, and I can't. I literally cannot think of anything to go, if you do this, then maybe it's not for you. Like, literally, this tool is for everyone. It's just plus points all the time. The design is phenomenal. Phil Smith has done a great job on the design with the images.
The marking is crazy.
Very clear. Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
So, and then the stack markings. I mean, it's the clearest day to see.
Right. I can't see anything, but
that's the beauty. When it gets pointed out, you can't miss it. So, which side of my in reverse? There. That's a P for person, and that's a H. There.
Oh wow!
And it's omnidirectional as well.
So
that's the same market.
So let's explain. Seeing as you're being so open, before we wrap up, what information can we get from the back?
So you can get the stack number. Yeah, go for it, Lloyd.
Go on, you can go for it.
No, so it'll give you the stack number first of all.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the card, you can see there's a that tells you that's the third card from the top of the stack. The deck is cyclical, so you know, which is great, but that will tell you the exact stack number, which means that you can do estimation routines. You can do pseudo memory routines. There's a ton
you can
of
tell
stuff
how many cards are cut up like this. Or there's 32 cards exactly there.
Yeah.
Wow,
then if you look at either
yeah,
so you can do the stuff that you'd normally only be able to do with a memorized deck with this deck very easily. Then if you look at the cog at the top, on either side of the cog, you're going to see a H on one side and an F on the other side. That's omnidirectional, so whichever way around you've got the cards, it's going to work. Now, that's going to tell you that the card that you're looking at is a non-force card, but at the card above it is a house and the card below it is a flower. Compare that to a force card. If we look at a force card, if you can show them a force card, Lloyd, any force card, the force cards have the same letter on both sides. So if you look at a force card there, you can see a H on both sides. So because you see a H on both sides, that tells you that's a force card and it's a house. So because of that, you can do really cool, using those two marking systems together, you can do really cool pseudo memorization routines where you apparently memorize the deck, you have them cut some cards into your hand, you openly look at the next card down and you say, okay, there's 15 cards in your hand. You can get them to cut again and you can tell them how many cards you've got. You can tell them what the next card is, what the previous card is. And then you look at the corners. Cards. You'll see that one of those corners is rounded and one of those corners is straight. The rounded corners are the force cards. The straight corners are the indifferent cards. So you can literally spread the deck out on the table. That means you can spread the deck on the
table and know which are the Quran cards.
Yeah, which is great.
Just like this, I can just see all the Quran cards and all.
So even if the cards are shuffled and they're not in any particular order, you can spread the cards out on the table, run your finger along and just tell them to say stop. And wherever you say stop, you come down on the nearest Quran card and it'll just look like you're going straight down and you can force a force image from a shuffled deck. And they're never going to see that there's any duplicates because it's designed so that they can examine the cards until the cows come home.
Yeah, it's so good. Guys, you have really come up with something very special, something I think a lot of magicians and mentalists are going to be using. You've built so much into it. That marking system is genius. But then you wouldn't expect
Phil Smith all the way.
Yeah, it's Phil, isn't it? You know, he's in 100 years' time. when people are looking at this era of Magic, they're going to be talking about Phil Smith taking anything to do with graphic design when it comes to Magic or playing card marking systems and taking it to the next level. He's the guy, let's be honest, that's innovated putting entire words on cards. You know, he created a brand new concept for Evoke, never done before. Nobody had ever heard of a word being marked on a card before. He put multiple words on the cards.
Yes,
just
he's very clever with his sort of they're right little optical illusions, because you just don't see them until they're pointed out, and once they're pointed out, you can't not see them.
You can't miss them.
They're very, very clever. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on the deep dive. Hopefully we'll get you guys on again. Have you got any other projects planned together that you can talk about or not? Or
this is the first of
about them?
This is the first of a planned trilogy with me and Lloyd.
Ooh.
The second thing that's going to be coming out, which we've been talking about for 2 years, and I think they've just gone to print at USPCC. For the last 2.5 years, me and Lloyd have been working on a gaffed deck. As in, not a gaffed
like a
deck.
Proper gaffed deck.
Like a proper gaffed deck where every single card has a different use. The Barnes and Petty gaffed deck is finally finished. We went back and forth on designs so much over the last 2 years. I was taking trips to Wales. We were in his kitchen with like playing cards everywhere, trying to work out what we were doing. So that's done. And then there's something else on the horizon that is currently being prototyped by Phil Smith. So that'll tell you the sort of thing that it is. But it's very, very, I can't really say too much about it. Lloyd will kill me. Yeah. But it's unbelievable. And we're working with somebody else on that as well. Can I say who we're working with on that? Is that allowed or not?
Yeah.
So we're working with Jake Keane on that as well. So it's me and Lloyd and Jake Keane working on this project.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know Craig said he has to leave at 12, and it's now 11:59. So
you nailed it, Pete.
Perfect timing.
There you go. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and I've got no doubt this will be a success, and hopefully we'll get you both back on the deep dive when the gaff deck is out. So, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for having us.
So, guys, that's it for this week's special deep dive. Honestly, this thing's phenomenal. If watching this video hasn't made you want one, I don't know what would. The creativity that's gone into this is exceptional. The quality is great. Honestly, it gets my highest recommendations. And with Craig Petty and Lloyd Barnes brains behind it, you know you're onto a winner. So go grab yourself one. And if you've got any comments about the Infinity deck or questions, leave them below. And remember, if you haven't done so already, let me see if I can get this to work. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we put a video up right here on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check out our weekly vlog. So until next time, I'm Peter Nardi. Thank you so much for joining me on The Deep Dive.